Hey guys, Rowan here, coming back at you for the next part of this Def Leppard review discography, the Rock Brigade series. And where we left off last time, we would just talk about the retroactive album. And moving forward from what I had mentioned last time was how Def Leppard at this point had returned to the top of their game with the release of Adrenalize, which was in 92. 93 saw the release of Retroactive, as I just mentioned. Both big albums, both albums delivering a lot of hits for the band, and the introduction of new guitarist Vivian Campbell as well on the Retroactive disc. But one of the topics that I actually spoke about was how the band at this point was looking to sort of close the Steve Clark era of the band in a way. And what they ended up doing was deciding, along with their management, to actually put out a greatest hits album, which is namely Vault. And Vault itself is a really, really good greatest hits album. I mean, there have been some bands who have put out greatest hits albums, and you're immediately like, oh my God, where's this track? Why didn't they add this in here? Vault is an album that many Leopard fans embrace. They enjoy. They think it's a really good way to give someone who's fairly new and just heard of Def Leppard a good taste of the band and what its music is about. There are many who feel that this album perhaps could have done a little bit better in terms of including some songs off of the On Through the Night album, which was their first one. In fact, there's some fans who complain that even the High and Dry series doesn't really get featured all that much. In fact, hardly at all, just with one song, Bringing On the Heartbreak. Um, but what Def Leppard did do is that this album came out in 95, so it was 1980 and 1995, encapsulated all the best big hits that they have. Some of the regions actually had a slightly different track listing. So, for instance, on the version that, say, I have right now, I mean, you don't have Miss You in a Heartbeat of Retroactive, which is normally on this, or maybe even Tonight. But where in some other versions of Vault, you actually might get that. A few years later, which was towards the early 2000s, they did release another double disc album, which was the Best Of series, and that kind of encapsulated quite a few hits all the way up to the album 10 or X, as some guys call it. But in the meantime, Vault itself was a really good way of actually showcasing all the different kind of big hit songs that Def Leppard had actually put out. And one of the notable things that I just want to focus on for this review was the actual song When Love and Hate Collide. Now, uh, as I mentioned on the Adrenalize and the retroactive reviews, which I just did a little while back, uh, When Love and Hate Collide was actually a song which was written when Steve Clark was still alive. And in fact, it is the very last song, or the demo is the very last demo that he ever recorded, as the story goes. And his solo on that particular demo, if you guys get a chance to hear it, it is available on some of the like a bonus song, so to speak, on some of the beat tracks that you can get and so on. It's really, really good. In fact, that version is quite different from the version that ended up on Vault, but that version is in itself phenomenal. Steve's solo is brilliant. The way in which that whole song sort of, again, like so many other Leopard songs, pulls you in and just makes you a part of it, where you can just really connect with the melodies and so on. I think that is brilliant in many ways, and I think that this song, written by Joe and Savage, I think it really demonstrates, their musicianship in so many different ways. It's unfortunate. I don't know exactly why Def Leppard never decided to record this song for the Adrenalize album, but eventually they did decide to include it for the Wall Greatest Hits thing. And in fact, it was the only new song which was featured on this particular album, just to sort of advertise that a Greatest Hits album was out. The actual version that you get on Vault is in itself equally brilliant in its own right. It has a huge string arrangement which was done in the same as Two Steps Behind. Michael Kamen, rest in peace, man. We also miss you. He did a brilliant job of actually putting the orchestra and string arrangements on this song. The guys, their vocal ranges on this track is really, really interesting to take note of. The way they're able to get to these very high notes as well as these very low bass overtone notes, and just sing with this kind of multiple harmony effect. It's really interesting to check out. The song itself is not as long as the demo version, but it is something which you can find so many layers on, and I would go so far as to say that a lot of Leopard fans that I've interacted with over the years and even across different countries have often cited that this is the best Def Leppard ballad ever. And for me personally, while it may not be my number one ballad from my personal track listing point of view, I just think that yes, I would agree that if someone was to say this is the best Def Leppard ballad, I would probably go with that. Although someone is probably there screaming, saying, no, what about Love By? It's a two steps behind. Or Have You Ever Needed Someone So Bad? Or even Goodbye for that matter, of the Euphoria album. But the truth is that this song is huge. The thing is that it is a song that demonstrates, all the great things that Leopard stands for, from, just delivering this really cool lyric as well as, this melody that matches it so well. The video is pretty cool, features the band, and there are actually two versions of the video, but I just like the version that, just has just the band and not the other one which has, some sort of story about a taxi cab driver and so on. Maybe you guys might like it, I don't know, but my personal opinion, I just prefer the band one. But all in all, this was a really good way of, closing this era. It was painful for everyone, even the fans themselves, knowing that this was the close of the Steve Clark era and the beginning of a new one. And this was the mid 90s, and you got to remember by the mid 90s, the musical scene had shifted in a huge way. We did discuss that of the retroactive review, but the musical scene, the grunge movement, the alternative music movement, so many different elements, becoming hip hop, becoming so huge. Things were shifting. In fact, there were a lot of media that were actually, talking about the fact that the 80s bands and bands from the 60s and 70s, even those, except for the few classic ones that they were willing to, forgive. Yeah, forgive, because as some guys, as some critics put it, they just called for and said that a lot of 80s bands didn't deserve to actually be around anymore. They were dinosaurs. They should just quit. But so Def Leppard really had a choice at this point: either continue in the direction of Adrenalize and Retroactive, and perhaps have ballads just in the vein of When Love and Hate Collide, or go with something which was a little different. And eventually, they did decide to adopt the latter. And to a lot of people, that was a huge surprise, but to a lot of fans, it was musical genius. But you be the judge, and let's discuss that when we get to the next installment. But till then, you guys take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye.